to order. We do have one agenda item this evening for this meeting, scheduled for 6:30. I would just like to remind council that we do have a regular scheduled town council meeting at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilor Krasko? Councilor Clements? Councilor Langevin? Councilor Manna? Councilor Marcucci?
Present.
Councilor Moriarty? Councilor Nicola? Councilor Palaquin?
Present.
Councilor Vandal? Present. 8 here.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3, review resume and employment agreement for acting town manager Robert Reed and to submit to council for ratification. Motion a second. Discussion? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak. I do want to just kind of put things a little bit into context. Obviously, with my departure, I have meetings on a regular basis with the chair and vice chair to talk about various issues, and I think the three of us kind of agreed that it may be some assistance to the community to attempt to locate and try to find somebody to come in on an interim basis to help through the transition. And to that end, I did contact and talk to a couple of search firms and asked them if they did interim work. They indicated that they did not. So I had a fellow manager call me, and we were chatting, and he indicated to me that he was aware of a person who had just recently retired, Mr. Reed. I've only met Mr. Reed on a couple of occasions at managers' meetings. So I'm not really that familiar with Mr. Reed, but the other manager was, and luckily for me, I called Mr. Reed, and he agreed that he had some time. He is officially retired, but he decided that he had some time and would like to assist the town in its transition from one manager to another. So to that end, I asked him if he would come in. We've had several conversations since, and we have hammered out a employment agreement. The employment agreement is based upon the employment agreement that the town had executed with Jack Healy, who was the interim prior to my arrival. And this evening for the council's review is Mr. Reed's resume. He does have an impressive resume, has a lot of years of experience, as well as the employment agreement. But both of these things, I think, were done in the spirit of attempting to help the town through the transition process, and just wanted to at least frame that. And Mr. Reed is here tonight to answer any questions, and maybe he can do a little better overview than I did of his credentials and his experience. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. So what I'd like to do now is introduce Mr. Reed to the council and the community. Mr. Reed, if you could come up and introduce yourself, and welcome to our town council chambers and to the community.
Good evening. I'm Bob Reed. Very happy to be here.
Give us a little background.
Sure. I guess you do have copies of my resume. I've been in public administration since the mid-'80s, worked in communities almost the size of Southbridge, some smaller, some wealthy, some not so wealthy. Worked on a number of different projects. I recently retired from the town of Leicester, where I was for 9 years. They did ask me to stay on for a little bit, the interim there, so have a little bit of interim experience and know what that's like. I was, happy when Chris called, interested in continuing it when we met and started talking about some of the responsibilities. I just felt it start to come back. I was more interested, I think, in staying in the profession a bit as interim than I thought I would be, and happy to have the opportunity.
Councilor Manna.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Reed, I just have a couple of questions. It states here that it's 20 hours per week. I just wanted to know which days you intended on putting forth for the 20 hours a week.
Well, we have talked about a tentative schedule. I was looking at Mondays, mainly because of the council meetings. I understand there are follow-up department heads meetings on Tuesdays, and then since the late day is Thursday, it would probably be those 3 days.
Okay, thank you. And also, I did try to Google you a little bit, and I did come up with an article, Lestertown admin Robert Reed to retire in July. And in here, it states that you mention a lot of personal circumstances for your retirement. Would this interfere with your possible interim here in the town of Southbridge?
I don't remember the context, but I think it was just personal circumstances on my retiring. It wasn't anything in particular. It was just, people ask, why do you retire? I just felt that rather than one big thing, it was a lot of little things, some personal, but nothing serious. Just, circumstances come together and you feel that it's the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Reed? Councilor Nicola?
Good evening.
I'd first like to thank the town manager for your diligence in your search and assisting the council in the interim of your absence. Appreciate that. And I just wanted to welcome you and hope that one of my questions regarding what you did mention to Councilor Manna, that it would be Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I'm not sure how Leicester, how they're set up, but we have a lot of subcommittee meetings. Are you going to be available if, say, for instance, there's a subcommittee, we never have anything on Friday, but if there was a Wednesday night subcommittee meeting, would you be available for something like that?
Yeah, the schedule will be flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very flexible, and I'll discuss with department heads, et cetera, the council, what's coming up, and that's certainly subject to change. But like I said, we've had conversations about a tentative schedule, and that was the tentative schedule, but it's tentative.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Sure.
I think just to elaborate a little bit on that, the charter in this community is actually pretty well structured, that in the absence of the manager, the finance director serves as acting manager. So one of the things that I think they need to work out is to kind of just make sure they're on the same page. I would say that, perhaps I did attend almost all subcommittee meetings, and that was really by my managerial choice that I decided to do that in order to be effective. But not all managers do that, and I believe the track record here is to not necessarily have all managers have done that. I found that it was helpful to do it, so that's why I made that commitment. But I think that the combination of both, Bob and Karen, if they could work out, that will make sure that there's a smooth transition.
Thank you very much.
Any other counselors? Everybody's all set with the contract for Mr. Reed? There's no questions there? Go ahead, Counselor.
Can we go over this contract, seeing it's so short?
Sure.
Do you want me?
And we can pick it apart.
I don't know about pick it apart. I'm happy to go through the material.
You
within it.
read it, and I'll pick it apart.
So just in terms of this, it is based upon what I would call a model contract that between a manager and a community. It lays out Section 1, deals with the functions and duties of the position. Obviously, we have a charter that needs to be followed, and Mr. Reed agrees to be the acting manager and to perform his duties specified within the town charter. I actually see that it says special act. We probably should amend that to say charter too. And then the term of office, he's agreed that he would start on January 2nd, 2014, and through June 30th, 2014. But there is a termination clause. The idea behind that termination clause is hopefully the search committee will complete its work in a timely fashion and have this done prior to the 6 months. So that's the reason for the transition. On the salary has already been alluded to, 3 days per week. And I think we do have no fewer than 20 hours per week. And that the amount is actually $1,000 per week. Just to comment on that is within budget, so there would be no additional budgetary transfer that would be needed to be accomplished to go through with this. And then the last, one thing of note, Mr. Reed has prior commitments, so will be unavailable from April 23rd to May 13th. During that period of time, Ms. Arnois would be the acting town manager. And that the next is my favorite clause, the Fair Labor Standards Act. The acting town manager is an exempt employee, which basically means you can work as many hours as you want, what that translates into. On the benefits, on the benefit package, it would be very minimal benefits, but he has in here the $25 per month for cell phone usage. That's the same language that I have in mind. That also, the vehicle that the town makes available to me would be available to him to be able to use in execution of his duties. He would not be entitled to vacation, sick, retirement, or health insurance. All those presumably he has already. Under Section 5, professional development, that the town agrees to pay for any courses or seminars that they deem to be necessary in his execution. I'm trying to think of an example of that. I know I've gone to like liquor seminars or whatever, and if there's a fee that goes along with that, the town usually pays that fee. And then also his attendance at the Mass Municipal Association annual January conference, and then potentially also the Municipal Managers Association annual spring conference. I think in every year I've been here, I've gone to the January 1. I don't think I've been to the spring conference. And then on expenses, just basically available 24 hours a day. Make the automobile available to him. And then if, for any reason, his employment, if he's required to come back or serve as a witness, that he would be paid in attendance for a trial or per diem. If there's any legal elements, that's, again, standard language. I think I have that in my agreement. The indemnification, this is a clause that is in almost all managers' agreements, that you do your work in the execution of your professional duties, and therefore, because you do it in your professional duties, you're entitled to indemnification. Obviously, if you do something outside of those professional duties, then you could be held to personal liability. And then the signature page.
Counselor?
On the first page, section 3, salary. It says, agree that time and hours of work may vary. The manager work fewer than 20 hours per week. That's not 3 days, 20 hours. Isn't there 8 hours in a day?
Basically, well, I think we work 7.5. So if we work 3 full days, it would be over 21 hours. And it says, but in no event will the acting town manager work fewer than 20 hours per week.
And then on section 5, A, town shall pay the acting town manager's registration, travel, and subsistence expenses for educational courses, institutes, and seminars that are necessary for the good of the town and approved by the town council in advance, subject to budget limitations. I don't think that should be in there. We got temporary, he's not going to go get any credits on our time.
Yeah, I think, Council, I think this really has a couple of connotations to it. A very good example of this would be when I started, there was nobody in the organization that had procurement certification. So I did go get procurement certification because as the manager in the community, you're the chief procurement officer, right. So I went and obtained that. That is something theoretically that if he thought it was needed in his time here, he could get that. I think it's 3 or 4 days. So it is something that's doable, that the community may benefit from it. Yeah, but I think he would have the conversation with the council to see if that was needed.
For you, because you were full-time, but for just filling in, I mean, there's a lot of things in here I don't agree with. The town shall pay the town manager registration fee, travel and substance expenses, and from the Massachusetts Municipal. I'm not crazy about that. Section 6A, the town manager shall be reimbursed for any expenses incurred in the performance of his or her duties or as an official representative of the town, including attendance by him or her at civic and social events. I don't want to pay him if he got to show up for a parade or some special, town function. I don't want him to be on the the payroll for, things like that. I'm sure you didn't get when you...
Yeah, no, that's true. I think I have the same language in my contract, but I never did put in, if I attended a veterans event or whatever, I did not put in for reimbursement.
Right.
However, if I was asked to go into Boston for something and I had parking or something, then I would put in for that. But I think that's more what this
common
clause
sense.
is, that's more what this clause covers, those miscellaneous expenses that may come up.
And then the town manager's duties require that he or she be on duty and available 24 hours a day. The town shall provide, maintain, and repair an automobile for the town manager's use. The town manager shall be reimbursed for his or her gasoline, tolls, and parking expenses in connection with his or her discharge of his or her duties. The vehicle may be used for personal use by the town manager. That's a no-no. I mean, I want to get away from that. I wanted to get away from a car, I wasn't in favor of giving you a car at that time, but it was outvoted. But I don't want it for personal, you never used your car for personal use.
Actually, believe it or not, Mr. Conrad, that, Mr. Vandal, I apologize,
That's all right.
that my initial contract was the same as this. I actually approached the town, and it was my choice not to use it for personal use, so I had the contract changed to say that I could use it for what's called de minimis personal use, because I was actually being taxed on that, even though I was coming to and from work every day with it. So I did that more for tax reasons. I think some of these questions, though, that, again, this is very similar to the contract that I have with the town, so there's not much that's actually changed in it. And I think some of the concerns that you're raising are concerns more for the permanent replacement when that's done. So this is really just the transition. And this is, this is the same material that we had when Jack Healy was done. I think Jack Healy was allowed to bring his car to and from Middleborough each day and put a lot of miles on it.
He brought it back and forth from Middleborough, but he didn't have my blessings on that,
I understand.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor, actually, Mr. Reed, I believe you did want to answer or bring something up to Counselor Vandal's point.
Well, only, as Chris said, I think much of it is standard on the education. I think Chris gave a good example. If there was a particular project going on and it would be worthwhile to attend some training on that, but I'm not going to be going back to college. Much of this is not only in standard contracts, it was in my contract with Leicester, and I didn't take advantage of it. It is standard. The spring conference, for example, I don't expect that I will be going. I haven't gone in years. However, the MMA annual meeting, that is really the meeting, and I think it would, even though I'm temporary, I think it would be pay benefits to Southbridge if I went to that meeting. I've gone every year for 25 years.
Most of the council and the town managers council have been attending MMA meetings at the expense of the town. So that's pretty standard. Are you all set, Counselor? Thank you. Counselor Clements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't have a problem with any of the, here you go. I didn't have a problem with the Section 5 issues. I thought especially since approval for things was by the council. So certainly if there's a request, it'll have to go through us anyway, Councilor Vandal. So we do have control over the education side of it and stuff, so I think that's very good.
I understand that, but
Right.
if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have, I would feel safer.
Right. But as they said, it's standard. So I don't have a problem with that. I do, moving down though, and the MMA being very informative, I think certainly it's definitely a positive for any any manager, regardless of how limited time they're going to be here. There are new rules, regulations that come up yearly that you can take back the information to the town, to the council, other members. So I think it's very valuable if you have the opportunity to attend. The vehicle may be used for personal use by manager. I don't agree with either. I think the diminished use is better. I think if you're coming back and forth from Leicester, that makes sense. But when it's the weekend, when it's on your own personal time, I would be concerned about using a town vehicle and the potential for having an accident or something on your own personal, time. So I do have a problem with that particular line.
What?
If you want to respond to it. The vehicle may be used for personal use by the manager.
Right. Again, I think that is standard, and I understand your concerns. I think we're just talking about, if I was driving back home and stopped at a grocery store, that type of thing.
Oh, I have no problem with that. Diminished use, I think is the term.
Very, very limited on weekends.
Diminutive use.
For personal use, I would definitely
You have
be
no
using my
intention.
own car.
Super. I just, that is a line that would bother me too. So whether there's something, if you can put the diminutive use in there or something else, I'm not sure. But if not,
That'll be okay.
I think Mr. Reed has shown his intentions. Thank you.
Councilor Vandal?
You said from Leicester. He doesn't live in Leicester.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm just thinking
How
about
many
you.
miles do you?
Medway, excuse me, Medway.
How many miles is it from Southbridge? Where do you live?
I'm not sure. It's a slightly longer commute than Leicester was. Not that, maybe 5 minutes more, I believe. I would, get off at the Auburn exit, another 10 or 15 minutes to the town hall. Here, I just get off in
But for
Sturbridge.
mileage, you don't.
I hate to guess. I can think about it. I'm thinking maybe 40.
Thank you.
Councilor Carrasco?
To just answer one of Councilor Vandal's, it's 48 miles one way from Medway to here.
How many miles?
48. I am a little concerned. I understand Mr. Clark has stated that this is, moving forward, this has been something that's been in place. But I think if we can change it now for the interim, I think if there is sections that need to be changed, again, I am in agreement with Section 6, number B, in regards to the vehicle for personal use. Honestly, I do not like that line at all. Second, if we look at the salary that he's making great money to be here for 20 hours. He's making at least $330 a day. For our community, that's probably a week's paycheck for some of our residents. Understanding the responsibility and what he's going to be doing, I understand that. But when you add another vehicle, when you add the vehicle to travel 48 miles one way, 48 miles the other way, now you're going to be adding at least another or $150 a week on gas. So in reality, the expense to the council and to the town of Southbridge is not going to be $1,000. We're looking at anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 for his contract. When you do the tolls, when you do all gasoline expenses. So if we can alter some of these points, and regardless, I understand it's an interim, but let's save our town some money in the process. I don't think we have to break the bank just because Mr. Clark's leaving. I think we have a finance director that can fill his shoes, which will be filling his shoes for 2 other days. So again, not to add to our workload, but it's unfortunate the position we're in. So I just want to, if we can, let's revise this. That's all I have.
Councilor Carrasco, are you stating then in Section 6 you would be more comfortable, even though Mr. Reed said he would not be using it for personal use on the weekends? Do you want to amend this and have it state that? Or I don't even know if this is something we can do because it's...
Just
not sure if this is
if
a
I could,
legal item.
if I could make a suggestion. I think if what I hear, I think Mr. Reed probably drives similar to me. I drive a nicer car that I personally drive, so on the weekends I drive my own vehicle. But if you put in there de minimis personal use, what that means is that he can basically only on the way home, if he stops off for milk or stops off for whatever, he can use it for that de minimis personal use. That would actually benefit him because now he's not going to be taxed on having the vehicle available to him as a commuting vehicle. So I think it sounds like there's agreement on that, so you can insert the word de minimis personal use.
Yeah, I think you've explained it well, Chris. I mean, it's for, I guess you could say for my protection, don't want to be criticized because I stopped at the supermarket to get some milk on the way home or something like that. As far as the salary, I am limited as to what I can make because of, my being retired. I think if you looked at it another way and costed it out, I'm actually making less money than I was when I was in Leicester. I'm a little biased here, but I think you're getting a good deal. If I wasn't limited as to how much I could make because of my retirement circumstances, I'd be asking for more.
Thank you. Councilor Nicola.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that the idea of an interim manager is that, with all due respect to Karen Harnoy, she has a full-time job. And it's more than just adding a little to her plate to give her for 5 days a week the town manager's responsibilities. She gets paid to do a specific job, and I'd rather her do that job, and if she has to fill in for 2 days a week, that's fine, but to take over the town manager's responsibilities 5 days a week is not the way I'd like to see us go. This is a very good employment agreement, and I have to agree with you, Mr. Reed, that it is a bargain. I've been in this position more times, unfortunately, than I care to think about, and I think it's fine. And I think the fact that you're willing to make some compromises is good. It says a lot. So I'm perfectly comfortable and will support this. Thank you.
We also have to keep in mind, Council, that it's going to be budget time pretty soon, and Karen is going to be in over her head with that, too, so it's something to take into consideration. Councilor Peliquin.
Thank you, Councilor Marcucci. My one concern with this, and I do agree with what you did say about the finance director's workload and the importance of her paying attention to the budget process and everything. My one concern is in Section 1. It says the acting town manager shall perform the duties specified in the special act, and other such duties shall be from time to time legally assigned to him. Under the Southbridge Home Rule Charter, the town manager position is a very strong manager position, and I think looking back at our previous track record with interim town managers, and in no way do I mean to sort of cast any sort of aspersions to your qualifications, which look excellent. It's just, with the side letter to the Casella agreement that was very controversial, and the purchase of the land that the DPW barn is located on now, I personally would feel more comfortable to have Ms. Harnois be officially, for legal purposes, the acting town manager, and bring on Mr. Reed as the acting assistant town manager, just in terms of Mr. Reed not having the unilateral authority to amend contracts without coming before the council. Ms. Harnois is a very long-term employee that I believe everybody on the council knows and trusts, and we know that she's a consummate professional, and this is the first time I've met Mr. Reed, and the town manager position in Southbridge is incredibly huge. It's a really big responsibility, and I wouldn't want Ms. Harnois to have all of that responsibility on her own, but at the end of the day, I would feel more comfortable if it was Ms. Harnois, and then Mr. Reed was coming in 3 days a week to take over more of the administrative work so she can focus on the budget, but for all intents and purposes, she would remain the acting town manager.
I believe in some of the discussions that we had, Counselor, unofficially, they are going to work together, and I do not believe that contracts of that magnitude would be signed without council's knowledge. So I just want you to feel very comfortable with that, that we have discussed that at length. And the town manager has also enlightened Mr. Reed to certain situations in town and sake for a better word, the larger issues that we have in the community. So it will be something that will be discussed with Mr. Reed, Ms. Harnois, and the council. But I can guarantee you nothing will be signed without our approval. Okay? Councilor, are you all set, Councilor? Councilor Moriarty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. More or less, my main issue of contention here is similar to what a few others had brought up. And while the current manager's suggestion as far as altering the language is one thing, personally, I do even rather just kind of see it set up where Mr. Reed is able to bring in his own vehicle to town, to and from work each day, receive a per diem or some sort of reimbursement on that end, and while in town, be able to use the outgoing manager's town vehicle for the official business that way, just for numerous reasons in terms of cost savings and wear and tear on the vehicle. To me, it makes sense. Granted, I'm not the one who's doing it, but 100 miles commute each time coming in adds up pretty quickly, and that sort of a thing. And so that's my main issue at the moment. Is I'd rather see the manager, the acting manager rather, come in using his own vehicle, be reimbursed for that wear and tear on his own vehicle, whether that's a per diem rate or mileage or what have you, and then while in town, while working for the town, being able to use the town car, but otherwise for the commute and personal business, even on his way home, grabbing that bottle of milk, being able to use his own vehicle. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Councilor
Madam
Manning?
Chair, through you. Just a couple things. Could you please clarify when Karen Harnois is the acting town manager, she has the same powers as Mr. Clark?
I believe the charter, I see council has the charter open, but I believe from recollection, in the absence of the town manager, the finance director acts in that capacity. So if Mr. Reed is not available or he's out of town and an issue comes up, someone can go to the finance director as acting town manager, especially if he has 3 days that are established that he will be here, 2 days that he's not, then you would go to the finance director and she would serve that capacity as acting town manager.
Okay, thank you. And also, in regards to cost savings for the vehicle and Mr. Reed potentially bringing his own personal vehicle to and from Southbridge, I'm not sure where I would see a cost savings there, as he's going to be reimbursed for gasoline and tolls and whatnot. It's basically going to be the same. That's the way I would see it. I mean, so I would be for making that one amendment to the last line item in Section 6, Part B, where the vehicle may be used for personal use by the town manager. I would see the recommendation from the town manager making that amendment for de minimis.
You add the word de minimis,
Yes,
Latin
yes,
for
okay.
minimal use.
Yes, for minimal use, okay. And I would be in favor of that, but I don't see a cost savings as if he was to bring his own vehicle to and from Southbridge to the town, if we're reimbursing him for gas and tolls and whatnot. So that's my view.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Clemens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the comments made by the former Councilor Peliquin, in terms of, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I was not on council back then, but there were things that happened, obviously, under managers and under interim managers, purchases of such, and that, but it is my understanding in the 4 years I've been here, anytime there's been a large purchase or a large contract signed or anything, at some point in time, it comes up for council vote. So ultimately, we can blame a town manager or interim town manager, but ultimately it's the council who sits and votes at that time. I shouldn't say the word blame, but or lay responsibility on them. But the reality is that everything we do up here, everything that is done from the town manager that has any substance is brought to the town council. So technically, we are in charge of those decisions. They might get, it might get convincingly sent to us. You know, they might be just, you know, given to us in such a form that we might believe what we're being told, but it's still council duty to do their due diligence and make sure that their decision and their vote is for the right thing, or for the good of the town. So ultimately, interim or not, you know, it's up to the council who resides at that point. So with any luck, there have been some bad decisions in the past, and we can learn from those and make some better ones for the future. I just wanted to be clear that the people out there realize it's not the independent ability of the town manager or the finance director, for that matter, to make these decisions. It is based on us councilors who sit up here. Thank you.
Councilor Carrasco?
Just in, through you, Madam Chair, I'm kind of confused in regards to the statement that Councilor Manna made in regards to the reimbursement of mileage, gas, and tolls. When I drive to Worcester, I don't get reimbursed gas or tolls. My company will give me mileage. I don't see any difference. I understand his position, I understand his title, but I wouldn't be reimbursing him for gas or tolls. I think it would be a courtesy to reimburse him for mileage. I mean, I think it's time for us to, as a council, look at this and say, this is a moment where we can save some money for our taxpayers, for our city, for our town. Again, it's nothing against Mr. Reed. It's we have a bunch of individuals that live out of town and are using our town money. Nothing against that, but again, I think this is something that we need to look at and as a council and look into it and say, this is something that we can save some money. I would definitely not be in favor of the town vehicle being used for personal use or even diminished use. I'm in favor with the suggestion that Councilor Moriarty brought, that he can drive here and take the vehicle, use it around town, and when he goes home, he's in his own personal vehicle. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Peliquin?
Just to clarify to my previous comments, I was specifically talking about the ability to amend contracts, like the side letters. But that was my only concern. So, thanks.
Mr. Clark?
There's a lot of different ways I want to go, but I'm going to be good. You know, some of the references that were made, the purchase of the DPW barn was referenced as something the manager did on his own in the acting capacity. It was signed off by the council. The clarification letters are basically clarifications on an agreement that was signed by the council. The charter is very clear. It's actually, I think, only 2 lines in the different sections. The manager can enter into contracts. So yes, absolutely positively, the manager enters into contracts, but the contracts have to be ratified by the council. So nobody does it alone. So, you know, I just, in terms of this, you know, I'm going to give some friendly advice. There's 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. You probably have, I think when I looked it up, Southbridge is probably close to the top 100 in terms of size for communities. You're talking about trying to attract a person to come into this community that probably has a skill set of 1 out of, you know, realistically a good professional, 1 out of 100. And I know you may think that saving, you know, the money that you're saving here is a good thing, but you have to look in the long term. Quality counts. You want to bring in a quality person to get quality results. Because I will tell you, it doesn't take too long for an unskilled manager to come in and lead this town down into something that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you know, you're squabbling over a fairly small amount of money to guarantee yourself a 30-year professional for the next 6 months. And I think you should take that to heart, that you're talking about a small amount of money to guarantee yourself a 30-year professional. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, we are running a little late this evening, and we do have a meeting that was supposed to be starting at 7 o'clock. With that,
Motion to adjourn the council of the whole.
thank you, Counselor. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor? Unanimous of all present. Mr. Reed, thank you very much for coming
you.
this evening
Thank you all
and your
very much.
patience. Thank you.